And in 2017, just before turning 30, my wife and I lost our baby. And that was like a big turning point for us. And I'm going to speak for myself, because suddenly I realized that life doesn't always go as planned, Like you can be checking all the boxes and following the path. Things might go wrong. And that was the beginning of a huge change on a personal level for me. And since then, I've been on a sort of like quest to live my best life and to live a life on my own term, not just to satisfy my parents or my family or this guy who I don't even like or whatever. I want to really live a life for myself that I won't regret, that the day I die, I want to be thinking like, you had a good life, Jeremie. Like, it was great.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to The Modern Freelancer. In today's episode, we have Jeremie Andre, a digital nomad currently living in Germany. Jeremie is a longtime digital nomad, business consultant, and writes his newsletter Beyond Ordinary, where he shares valuable insights as a digital nomad and entrepreneur. I first connected with you on your post, the 10 myths about digital nomads that might surprise you, and you became an instant follow. I think that was just a really great article. Can you give the audience an overview of your background and your experience?
Thank you for having me on your show, Kenny. I really appreciate it. Where do I start? 10 years in a nutshell. I actually graduated in 2011 with a master degree, got my job straight away. From 2011 to 2021, 10 years, I had a job, multiple ones. The main one being employee number 5 in a small French startup in France. So I was there from 2014 to 2017. In 2017, they wanted to expand internationally, and they took me to Miami, to the US. And I was lucky enough to live in Miami from 2017 to 2021, trying to develop the business over there. I would say that this first chapter of my life and my career was fairly, until going to Miami, fairly traditional, getting a job, a regular job, living a very regular life with no other ambition than just climbing the ladder, getting a promotion, becoming a manager, and all these things that I was told was like success, Um, and then working for the startup and the people who founded the startup started to plant a seed in my head that work could actually be a little bit different. Work could be fun, work could be enjoyable, and a little bit different than the traditional corporate path, right? And then this seed grew when I moved to Miami. Moving to Miami, like I said, from 2017 to 2021 was a life-changing experience for me, because it was the first time spending so much time abroad in a very, very different culture, right? France and the US, very different ways to see and enjoy life, and very different relationship with work. In France, I always felt that as soon as you want to step away from the traditional path, you meet resistance. People are going to tell you, people are going to give you 100 ideas of why you shouldn't do this, right? And in the US, it was great because I met people that were just, like you and me, regular people, normal people. I'm not talking about millionaires or anything like that, just normal young people living very cool life that I didn't think would even be an option for me. And that was really like, oh, I I could maybe do this, If those people are living a different life, why not me? So that was like another seed that was planted in my head when I was there. Um, so from 2017 to 2021, I was an employee for the startup. I was working from home over there. And And after 6 years of working for this company that I loved and I still do some consulting for once in a while, so I have a very good relationship with them. But I wasn't being challenged anymore. I was a little bit bored, to be honest. The job was fine. It was well paid. I had the trust of from the co-founders, from my uh, boss, but I wasn't being challenged anymore. The spark was gone, if you know what I mean. And I'm someone who needs a little bit of challenge. Like I get bored when I do the same thing for too long, if I'm being honest. And I needed to try something new.
Mm.
Uh, and in Miami, I was seeing all those people working for themselves. I was seeing people spending time between New York City and Miami, or Miami and Mexico, or Colombia, or whatever. And I was like, damn, that would be fun. I would like to do that. I like to try at least, right? I don't know if what's gonna happen, but I like to give it a shot. So we saved money. We spent our time in Miami like saving a good amount of money because we were lucky enough to earn a good income, my wife and I. So we were able to save, and we basically spent a little bit over 12 months just planning that. So I told my
Oh.
company in April I will be leaving. In April 2021 I will be leaving, and I'm gonna be doing this and that. So I told them so they could get ready, and also we got ready. So we saved money, we thought about what we would want to be doing and stuff like that. And yeah, in May 1st, 2021, so pretty much 4 years ago to this day, we left Miami and we
Wow.
went back to Europe, dropped a few bags in Europe. And since then, we've been jobless, homeless, and living out of our backpacks, basically.
Yeah, it's a story my wife and I share as well. I think over the last 4 years. What was in terms of lifestyle, what was the culture difference between like it was even though it was a startup, right? Like how was culturally like the like work wise between when you were working in France and when you were working in Miami? Were you also remote in Miami or did you have to be on site?
No, so I was remote in Miami, but I was on site in France. So yeah, the three
Mm.
years in France, I was going to the office every day, traditional 9 to 5. But in a remote, in a startup setup, it was really fun to be honest. I loved my 3 years in France. Like it's everything that people imagine of a startup. We had Nerf guns and we were playing football in the office, and it was really fun. I loved that, especially at the beginning when it was just like 5, 6, 10 of us. Eventually, when you grow and you hire more people, you need to be a little bit more, you know, traditional and mindful and respectful of everyone in the office. But for a while, it was very fun. Um, and then at first, when I moved to Miami, we were renting like a WeWork office. There was
Uh,
5 of us when we started in Miami. Uh, Me, two other French people, and two American employees. And then eventually, my managers went back to France, so we started just work from home because it was just easier and cheaper, to be honest. Um, but for me, the main difference between the French environment and the American environment was, like I said, this relationship with work. Uh, I mean, I know it's a cliche what I'm gonna say, but like in France, we love a good protest. Like if we're not happy with something, everyone goes in the street and shout about it. Uh, if you want me to work on a weekend, no, I'm not gonna be happy about that. If I don't get on my vacation, I'm not happy about that. If you touch my retirement, I'm not happy about that. We are very um, yeah. It has its pro and con. There's no perfect country. I know that, but let's say that yeah, in France, work was very regulated and very like checking in and out, and this kind of situation where I felt like in the US, you can have that, but if you want more, it's welcome and it's fine, and you're not being discouraged for trying to do more or trying to do something different. That was the main thing for me. The mindset around how we approach work, how we approach novelty, how we approach something different, um, was very, very intriguing first. I didn't fully understand it because it was new, but then talking to more and more people and kind of being surrounded by people doing different things that I would have considered weird at some point, maybe, like, I don't know, when someone tells me, like, hey, I want to be a TikToker, cool. I'm making money on TikTok, like that sounds, I mean, now it's becoming more and more normal, but, in 2018, it wasn't so normal. Um, and I think in France, you would say that people would laugh at you, to be honest. When in the US was like, this is awesome, you should do it, this, like, and maybe there is a middle ground. I always say, like, I felt when I was in Miami was being in the Lego movie. The song like of the Lego movie, everything is awesome. It was that in a way. Uh, which I think there is a middle ground between both culture, but um but I think when you're seeking change, when you're seeking growth, this kind of positive environment is much better than a negative environment where every single idea you come up with is like being shut down straight away.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I think it's my wife is European as well. She's Italian, and the times that we've gone back to visit her family, um, her aunt's kids were raised in a very American setting. So the kids are very American, right? They're very like poppy and they're very like peppy, and the family always makes fun of them in that way because what you said was a Lego movie. They're like, everything is awesome. Isn't it awesome today? Everything is amazing. So, it's the culturally, it's so different. It's even my wife has been here now. Maria has been here now for 5 years, and she's like, as I think for you guys as Europeans, like everything is about credential and everything is about getting next level of learned education, right? Like you have to go to
Yeah.
the finest schools, you have to be credentialed to be able to do this job, you have to be whatever it is, you have to be at the highest level to do a job. If you don't have those degrees, you're not eligible to work. And like you said, it's funny in the States, yeah, if you just announce you want to be a TikToker or you want to be whatever it is, like you said, it's everything is so much more welcoming in that way. And it's a really interesting cultural shift. I think hearing it from Maria and then also from a lot of our European friends. And I can see like for you as a startup, working at a startup, it's probably more beneficial and more like eye opening and mind opening, and there's a lot of freedom within that, right? You're losing some sort of work life balance, but you're also kind of gaining this new perspective of like anything is possible. And I think you have taken that within your next step to be where you are.
No, yeah, that's right. And I think, I mean, ultimately, it's always down to the people running the show, right? But
Right.
yeah, I think, like you said, like I said, there is like, I think the ideal world is somewhere in the middle of both culture. But I think when you have people who are willing to dive first into something, let them do if they want to. And I and that's what I appreciated. Like when you are at a certain stage of your life or your career and you want to invest this time to grow and to develop something, don't try to stop me. It's my problem in a way, right? And let me be. Um, and and I think it's much easier to do that in the US than in Europe. And I know things have changed in the US since I was there, but this is nothing like political. This is just, I think, culturally speaking, and in terms of mindset, I would say that it's probably also very different where you go in the US. I think in Miami, where I was, I think I met the right people at the right time. And I was in this bubble, in this very small environment that was great for me at the age that I was to grow and to go through this change. I would have moved to the middle of, I don't know where, in the middle of the US. I would have had a very different experience. I probably would not be talking to you right now because I don't think I would have had the growth that I had, right? So obviously, it's not just the country. Like, there's plenty of things that have to go right to get there. But yeah, I think if I have to make like a generalization, I think the the American soil is great for ideas, especially like out of the out of the ordinary ideas to like grow and blossom more than in Europe. Um, and I'm saying that as like my personal opinion, but I think if you look at also, you know, the top 50 companies in the world at the moment in like what matters, tech, finance, all that, I would assume that 90% are American. Probably, I don't know exactly, but I can't think of many uh, huge companies startup that are like in the top 50 or any company that you can uh, mention that are European. It's not that many, right? So there's something there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time right now too because a lot of the tariffs, like EU, I think recently has now implemented a tariff on U.S. tech companies, right? Like a lot of the cybersecurity company that's based in U.S. and a lot of my clients are cyber and they're either in Eindhoven or they have a location. Their headquarters is in the States, and it's a really interesting time right now because I feel like this might be a tech bloom in Europe. Because now it's like if you're not able to use outside source and outside tech, and I'm really excited to see where it goes because it might lend this rising to people that want to start their own tech in Europe. I'm not sure if the tariff is still implemented or how that go, but I feel like now they're trying to depend less obviously on the States for anything tech related. So it's a really interesting time.
Yeah, but I also think what's going on right now is very political, and in the grand scheme of thing, in 5 years, thing might be very different again. And I think developing and growing something so quickly, 5 years is, in the grand scheme of things, is tiny. And developing, I don't know, the new Apple or the new whatever it is in such a short amount of time, it's hard. I know like OpenAI kind of came out of nowhere in the last like 3 years, but they were founded in 2015, I believe. So they existed for 7 years in a shadow before becoming an overnight success. um,
Yeah,
and
I think
yeah,
Sam's initial idea was somewhere about like researching cancer vulnerabilities and stuff that weren't really sexy, and then OpenAI just kind of took that. Yeah, it's interesting, but 5 years now, like yeah, I'm sure you've seen vibe coding, right? Like a lot of this stuff is getting built so fast.
yeah,
And a lot of our friends are engineers as well, and they're like, dude, these things are getting built so fast, but they don't really have the knowledge to kind of support it and to operate it. And this I feel like in the next couple months, especially in the next year, like there's gonna be so many new innovations. Although they're just ideations, it's still gonna put out there into the atmosphere like, oh, this is a really cool new product or new software or whatever it is. So it's the tech bloom. I feel like it's resurging, and it's I'm really excited to see it.
no, I think it's gonna be fun. I think you're right, and I hope I really hope I'm wrong with what I'm gonna say. Um, but I think regulation stops innovation, and that's the problem in Europe. We over-regulate everything, and it kills any creativity and innovation. And it's not a coincidence that every smart people go either to the US or to Asia those days because it's just so hard to get anything done without having to apply for so many things before you can do anything in Europe. So if they want to be like the new hub of the next way of innovation, they're gonna have to work on that. And and also the truth is that it's so much easier to raise money in the US than in Europe. Um, and those things can change. It's just like decisions that have to be made at some point, but it's not it can be changed very easily in a way. It's just uh, but at the moment, if things don't change, I think that's the main yeah the main weakness of Europe compared to the other country. And I hope I'm wrong. I want to see more like European stuff coming, but I feel we have more chance to see the next big thing in Asia than in Europe.
Yes.
If I have to bet $10, that's what I will put my money on.
Like what you said about Europe, regulation kills everything. My Maria's sister has a jewelry shop on Shopify. And in her region, in Italy, like they don't know how to classify that. So there's there's so much
Yeah,
paperwork in terms of like what business license do you need or do you have to have in order to sell online. Like there it's she's telling us this whole process of just like, like, oh, you have to see this person because you are operating a business, but you're also doing an online business. And if you want to sell in store, you have to do this. And yeah, it's in the States, honestly, it's the best thing about the States. If you want to be a shaman on, like broken toes, like, you're able to just market yourself out there. And it's yeah, it really is like a vastly different world between the two. And I think Asia is a good place in between. I mean, it really is in between, but it's a good place in between of where culturally, everything will kind of go in the next few years. So, it's exciting. I think especially for yourself, you're able to kind of bounce around and seeing, um, things kind of play out where they are. You're not limited to a location and, like
yeah,
you said, like, not hindered by any regulated growth. So you left Miami in 2021. This
yeah.
is what, a year-ish, like, like, during COVID. What was that like for you, and what did you do after leaving?
So on on a, on a COVID note, it was very funny because in Florida and in Miami, COVID was a thing for like 2 or 3 months, and then it was gone. We can party again. It was like June 2020, COVID ended in Miami. It was great for um when in May 2021, so literally like close to 12 months later, we leave Miami to fly back to France and England to spend time with our family. We're going back to those countries where quarantine is still a thing. This is yeah, like curfew and whatever. It's like what is going on? uh, we we were completely like oblivious about what was happening in the world and in other countries because we've been living normal life freely for so long. There was like a little bit of a yeah, of a slap in the face to go back and oh, I need to put a mask on. I need to do this. I need to... so yeah, that was quite funny. But but apart from that, so I said that before leaving Miami, we spent 12 months getting ready for everything, saving money on one side, and another big task was trying to plan what would be next in terms of business and professionally speaking. Both of us wanted to explore growing, developing our own businesses. My wife was doing YouTube, so she was trying to get monetized on YouTube and basically trying to become like a travel vlogger and get sponsors and all that stuff like that. Um, I was more exploring like a just traditional route of like get a business going and I'm not a big social media postpartum thing. um, so in summer 2020 when COVID happened, I started with a bunch of friends in Miami an online yoga platform. So we were offering yoga classes and yoga meditation wellness classes online. So a kind of Netflix where you could just get a subscription, pay $9.99 a month, and you get access to hundreds of classes online. So we did that from, it was like summer 2020. So that was the thing that I was focusing on when I left my job in 2021. That was my main activity at the moment. And very quickly after a few months, we realized that this business as it was would not be sustainable for too long because everyone jumped online with COVID and studios and fitness studios closing. But eventually, when things open again, people were tired of like just doing yoga classes in this setting, right? So the platform was very stagnant, and we just couldn't acquire new customer. So we had a base; it was fine, it was making money, but it wasn't growing anymore. Um, so eventually, in early 2022, we decided to shift, and rather than offering just classes on a platform, we decided to become a school and offer yoga teacher training online. Because my business partner have been a yoga teacher for a very long time. He was used of running in-person yoga teacher training in the US, in New York and Miami, and we thought we could use the online world for that because that's kind of not going to go away. As long as we have a product that is a little bit different than everyone else, we will be able to exist whether COVID is still around or not. So the key was just to create a product that was a little bit different than your traditional 200-hour yoga teacher training. So we explored this idea. We picked a niche, which was trauma-informed yoga, accessible yoga. So we were teaching people how to become yoga teacher to teach uh, from a chair, from a wheelchair, when you're missing a limb, when you have some maybe visual or hearing impairment, and some stuff like that. It wasn't your traditional YouTube or studio, Instagram pretty yoga thing. It was really focused on accessibility and making it available to everyone. And because we had this niche, we had less competition, which means that the online setting was great for us because there was demand from anywhere in the world for our trainings. So we had students in the US, in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, in Central America, stuff like that. Um, I started working on that from the first quarter of 2022. So we shifted from the classes to the trainings, and I worked on the school from February 2022 to very recently. And through 2022, we basically shifted our attention from the classes to the training as the business was growing, and eventually we kind of just merge everything, and the the classes just became an add-on to the training, but the training was the main source of income and the main activity that we wanted to develop, really, because everyone at this point was just going back to practicing yoga regularly, so no one wanted to pay $15 to have a bunch of yoga classes when you could just do it on YouTube or back at your studio, right? So the shift was necessary. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's interesting because when I look back at it, prior to 2021, I had very little experience in working for myself. My parents have been employees for the entire life. I didn't have any role model when I grew up that I could, look up to, of like, oh, you're a successful entrepreneur and you're inspiring me, so I want to be like you. Like I didn't have that. Um, and yeah, it was interesting because I was really starting from the bottom, from nothing, which was challenging. I had to learn everything by myself, watching YouTube videos, taking courses, talking to people, all that. Um, but it's been a very fun journey. It's far from perfect. I'm still navigating the ups and downs and the roller coaster that being an entrepreneur is. But like I said at the beginning, I like to be challenged. I like learning new stuff. So I'm still trying to figure out, but it's been a fun ride, and yeah, it's fun. It's not for everyone, but it's fun.
What did you host that on?
So the first iteration, the classes, we used Vimeo OTT. It's a great platform. Like, if you want to do
Oh, okay.
anything that is like Netflix like, it's great. Super
Yeah.
easy to use, fairly priced. It's offering a good experience for you in the backend, but also for the end user. Um, you can really create what I would call, yeah, like a Netflix experience for very little money. So yeah, Vimeo OTT is a great place to start for that.
You are the first person I've ever talked to that ever used Vimeo OTT. It's been around
Mm,
for a while. I mean, I'm on Vimeo as well, but I've never heard anyone use Vimeo OTT, and that's really interesting. I wonder if there's I think they're still doing it now, but that's cool, man. Yeah, super cool. How did you find your niche to go into that accessibility route, um, from going from traditional
yeah.
classes, or how did you guys decide to kind of go on that route?
So I would give credit to my business partner for that. If I'm being honest, he's been in the yoga world for like 20 years, 20 plus years, and he's tried a lot of different type of yoga, different type of classes and trainings and everything. And at this time of his career and his life in 2020, 21, 22, um, he was exploring this trauma informed yoga path. He was learning about it, and I think that was one of the things. Call it the universe, call it whatever you want, but the world shut down. Everyone is locked inside. Everyone is dealing with their own shit. Uh, everyone is stuck. Only remove distraction from people, and suddenly they realize what's going on in their life. And I think we all had a very different experience during COVID, but I think a lot of people realized the importance of mental health, of uh, community, of dealing with your own trauma and all that. And uh, I think we came up with the product at the right time because it was becoming more and more mainstream, uh, to be open about mental health and about all those topics,
Mm.
inclusivity as well. Around being part of the LGBTQIA plus community, about size inclusiveness, like all those topics really popped, I think, during those like early 2020 years. So having a product that was aligned to that was good timing. And we didn't do it because of we were following a trend. It was just my friend was exploring this path because of his personal journey and challenges. And I think it was just being kind of like at the right place at the right time with the right thing there. And yeah, he wasn't taught about so much. He wasn't taught so much. Most yoga training and even yoga classes are still following a very traditional and mainstream route. If you type yoga on Google on Instagram, you're gonna see very similar things like flexible, white, skinny woman doing some bendy pose. That's gonna be like 80-90% of what you see, right? Like, it is what it is. Um, and we try to step away from that and to offer something a little bit different because there is a lot of people out there out of 8 billion human beings on the planet. Everyone doesn't look like that, and a lot of people can't see themselves into that. So trying to offer something a little bit different and trying to offer a product that didn't reject you just because you didn't fit into a specific mold. I think that was just, yeah, being at the right place at the right time when people kind of needed that also because of what was going on in the world.
Yeah, it's funny though. the thing you were talking about yoga being the white women bendy, that's my wife and her sister. So
And there's nothing wrong with that,
it's
by
quite
the way.
funny
I'm
how
not saying that it's an accusation, but the
yes,
truth is
yes,
that,
yes,
you know,
yes.
I think we human being, we can relate to things that look like us, right? In general. So when we want to jump on something, we have more chance to follow someone that we can connect with. And we can connect with people with the way they think, the way they look, and stuff like that. And the truth is that if you have different body shape, different um, color, different culture, different abilities, and you don't see anyone that look like you or that has this ability doing that, you're gonna think unconsciously, this is not for me. This activity, this stuff is not for me. I cannot do that because no one else that looks like me is doing it. So I think I think by putting more representation, this is what I was looking for, by having more representation and more people with different physical and mental abilities and stuff like that, showing that it is an option, that's just including more people into the mix. And it's just giving access to something that can be very beneficial to more people that actually need it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, the last 5 years has just been so interesting, man, like, with both of, I guess, our journeys within, this digital slash yoga slash community space, right? It's like when COVID first hit, it was just people trying to connect with other people. That's why yoga digital yoga connected and bloomed so fast. Like for Maria, I was able to get her on Zoom, like the next, like 2 days after Italy was locked down. So I think
Mm,
she was on Zoom like March 20 or whatever. And it's a lot of
yeah.
my background from streaming and everything else. And her region is an extremely small region in Italy. So it was, and she lived like right next to the police station, so they weren't able to obviously like hold in-person classes. So we were trying to figure out how to get her online, and we got her on Zoom and everything else. And then like you said, everything went back to as soon as things opened, like people started coming again as a community. And now, well, I think what you guys built was really great because at that time there's obviously a huge need for mental health, right? And this is kind of repeating pattern again currently where there is kind of this need again for mental health, and it's just interesting to see the progression of where things have gone from 2020 to now, and like how how digitally focused it has been now. Like you can, there's so many different platforms, like Insight Timer, that is a
Yeah.
meditation timer, and it's yeah, it's quite interesting. But I think you guys built out a really great niche, and it might be time for a comeback because mental health right now is yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of needed.
Yeah. I think this is something that you know, especially at the moment, and I'm also guilty of that sometimes. Like a lot of people talk shit about social media, internet, and all these because it's like frying our brain and it's screwing up young people and all this. And but I and there are some negative side to everything. We can find a bunch of negative points about anything anyway. But one of the thing that I love about internet is it's just what we're doing right now. It's like you can connect to people that you've never met, that you didn't know existed a minute before. But more importantly, because I think, like I'm very privileged because of where I'm from, because of what I look like, and because I'm a man and all that. Like in a one scream of saying that I'm a very privileged person in the world. But there are so many people in the world that have quirky interests, that have maybe some condition that don't allow them to be themselves in real life because they're gonna be bullied because things are not accessible to them for whatever reason, stuff like that. And if you live, in a small town in Italy and you're quote unquote different and everyone is pointing at you, and you feel lonely, you feel like shit, you don't feel you belong anywhere, you don't have any friends. Like it sucks. And that can spiral in very dark places. And you can just go online and you can find people in 5 minutes that are like you. And suddenly you're not the weirdo anymore. Suddenly you can find hundreds or even thousands of people with the same very strange interest that you have. And suddenly you can feel like you belong to a group of people. And I love that about internet. And it's not perfect, but just that I think can help so many people uh, to not feel alone. And yeah, especially like you said, like with everything going on with mental health and people. I mean, we live in an amazing world, and also at the same time, it's a shit show. It's very funny how the world works. Uh, but yeah,
It's funny. It's like, yeah, people can talk shit about internet, right? But it's like everything that you need to be able to anything that you wanna know, anything you wanna improve, all of my hard skills, and even, like, a lot of my soft skills are YouTube based, right? So, I taught myself photography in 2009 off YouTube, and it's been my business ever since. It's like anything else, it's what you do with it, right? But like the phone in itself, anything you want to find on there, you know, like on Instagram, like people can talk stuff about on Instagram or whatever profile, whatever platform they're using, but um I don't think I think like when social media has came in, it opened the world to so many people to see
yeah,
how other people are living and what people are doing and how you can be a part of that or what you can do for yourself as well, and it opened as a whole different realm, I feel like, but it is obviously if you're not using it for that purpose or you're binging on different platforms or you're doom scrolling, whatever it might be, and that's okay. But anything that you want to be able to change within like your business, your career, you can learn it really, really quickly. So it's really what you do with it, right? Like anything else.
yeah,
Like I don't think a couple of years ago, like Substack is pretty new to me. Like I know you've been on Substack for what, about a year or something?
yeah. It was last summer, August last summer.
Yeah, and like what is your experience with Substack? How is that like how is your experience and like what are your plans for Substack? Because I'm interested to see the future of this platform as well.
Yeah. So about I have tried many. I've tried them all. I've tried to do the short form video, the Instagram reels, like the TikTok, the YouTube, uh, and and the truth is that I've never been able to stick with anything for more than 6 months. Um, and I think the reason was
Mm.
I was trying to be and to do something that I didn't like. I I'm everyone is different, but I don't consume too much Instagram content or short form videos. What I like reading, like when I like personally is reading. I read a lot of books. I read long blog posts, or I watch 2 hours long podcast. That's really the thing that I really
Mm.
enjoy consuming as content, as my form of like entertainment. So trying to create a 30-second video about anything is very challenging to me because I don't consume it. I don't kind of understand it. I kind of hate creating it. I have no joy in creating it, if I'm being honest. Um, so every time I've tried to do content, I've never really been able to like stick to it. The only thing that I enjoyed was doing my long form podcast. That was fun. But every time when I had to promote it and I create the short clips, I hated that. Hated this part of it. Um,
Mm.
and in I think it was in 2023, I deleted Instagram, TikTok, and probably everything else from my phone, all the social media apps. I got rid of all of them. I kept my accounts, but I was not using it much. And eventually, the truth is that we live in a world where if you want to have an online business, you need to have an online presence, whether you like it or not. It's I don't like that, but it's just what it is. I need I need to accept it. And for me, the best medium of communication is writing out of everything that I had available. So I looked at write text-based platform. So I looked at Twitter/X, and that was just
Huh.
a whole thing by itself. So I didn't go on that. And eventually, yeah, I was looking at basically starting like something about writing. So I thought about doing a blog, but then doing a blog, you need to do the whole SEO game and all that and all that. I was like, okay, let's look into something that could be a blog and also a newsletter because I understand the value of collecting email address as a business. Our yoga school was sustainable from day one, training one, because my friend has been building a newsletter for his entire career and he had more than 10,000 people on his newsletter. And that's why, as soon as we created a training, we had 40 people signing up to it because he's been building this list over time. So I knew the value of that. So I was like, okay, if I could do something that allows me to create an audience that I own, so not just followers, but actually if I can have the contact, I know the value of that. And Substack was a good in between because it is a newsletter platform, but it also has this kind of like blog where you can, you know, see old posts and go back in time. So yeah, so that's why I picked up Substack as my platform. And since last August, I've been diving into it, and it's interesting because I feel they are becoming a social media more and more. Like they started as just a newsletter platform slash blog, and then they added the Substack notes, and then you can do some long form podcast on it. A few weeks ago, they added the short video feed on it. So the app is slowly evolving into a social media platform, which I'm not thrilled about, but it is what it is. Um, what I'm concerned about is Substack is still privately owned. It's not a public company. They've raised I don't know how much money. Those people are going to expect to make a return on investment at some point. And at the moment, they're not going to make a good return by just taking a few percent of the paid subscribers. So at some point, they're going to have to make money. And how does those platforms make money? By putting ads everywhere. So I think it's going to happen one day. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see any other way for them to make money and to make a return on investment. Um, so, but the thing is, that's the main difference for me is that if tomorrow my Substack, I don't call it Substack, I call it my newsletter, which is why I bought a domain name, and my Substack is newsletter.jeremieandre.com. Because if tomorrow Substack is gone, or if it turns to something I don't like, I just have to export my subscribers, upload them to Beehive or another or Ghost or another platform, and I can keep going, and it will be transparent for you, the subscriber, and it will look a little bit different, but I can still keep going without losing anyone on the way, which is something I cannot do if I grow an Instagram audience or TikTok audience, right? If no, I can't take my 5,000 subscribers, not that I have them, and move them anywhere else. Well, I can do that with Substack. So, yeah, that was also like a strategic choice behind picking this platform was because I can use it as a platform to grow, but anyway, anytime I can move away from it and nothing will change. I won't lose anything.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see where they're going with it. Like I saw the real videos kind of posted and all the notes. And I feel like they're trying to just throw stuff at the wall and see what
Yeah.
sticks. And see what works, and the feedback has not been good. Substack notes, and they're like it's very strange, right? Because the whole the algorithm is really strange, and the history timing of it is really strange. Sometimes you would see like, posts from like 3 years ago, and you're like
Yeah.
what's what's happening. I think what you're saying is it could happen. I think they are probably gonna throw ads, or they're probably gonna go on a subscription based option probably in a near future. But like yourself, I'm using because it's like I've never had a newsletter before, and I'm learning a lot from it, right? Like, I do love the podcast ability and the long formness of being able to write like a blog or a newsletter and try to figure out in that way. And even like going on the paid route to see how that's working as well. A lot of really big people are doing really smart things, and
Yeah.
it's a resource for me to learn right now and to see how other people are doing it and what I can do with it as well. Like I know just a pretty big Substacker. She's huge in social, and she's just really using it for affiliate links. She talks about all the stuff that
Oh.
she's using, and I was like, "Oh, that's so smart," because you as a creator, you don't need to depend on people, like, subscribing to you for
Yeah.
X amount of dollars. You're getting affiliate links on the back end. I'm like, boom, people are doing really smart things with it, right? And it's
Yeah.
people are all kind of overthinking. I'm like, should I go paid or should I not? And I'm like, well, you have to think about this differently because you don't really just want to depend on $5 a month. You want to be able to create backlinks and use affiliate links. So it's a really interesting and even my wife, she's part of this astrology thing. But she's subscribing to the writer, and I think it's $5, but it's like top of funnel. And then that got her into like a group thing that's like now $44. So she's making more money on the back end just by doing top of funnel
Yeah.
and Substack and getting people in. I'm like, there are really cool things that are happening, and yeah, it's interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah. I think you can see that it's an up and coming platform when some people that you wouldn't expect them to know about are asking question about it. Um, like something like Bitcoin or whatever. I'm not on social media, but I always tell my wife when our random friend that is not into tech is asking about Bitcoin, tell me, because that's a sign that it's reaching
No.
like peak reach and it's time to sell because it's gonna crash eventually soon after that. Um, I felt something similar with Substack. Like no one knew about Substack, and I think it was in January or February. To my wife, she's doing like social media management and content creation for solopreneur and small businesses. So it's usually creating either Instagram content or some YouTube content. And two of her clients in January asked her, "Hey, do you know about Substack? Do you think I should create a newsletter?" And those people are not like techie, following trends, stuff like that, but somehow they heard about it, and I was like, "That's interesting. There's something happening there. I don't know what it is." And actually, now that I remember, it was right when the TikTok ban was supposed to happen. It was
Mm.
February. And I think people were freaking out and people understood, wait, I've been building this audience on TikTok for 4 years. I have my hundred or thousands of subscribers, and you're telling me that I'm about to lose them all. And I think a lot of people realized that and started to make some research about how can I own my audience. And I think that's why Substack came. But that was interesting, like because I'm talking about like a 60 years old woman asking for that. Not again like someone that uh, is following the trends or whatever. So I was like, there's something happening there. I don't know what it is, but there's a shift. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I recently was shooting a conference. I was talking to this business owner slash coach, but she does something called like thought leadership for CEOs. So she creates personal brands for CEOs. And I was mentioning to her about Substack because right now everything for like, high level CEOs or whatever, they're still on LinkedIn. It's your traditional cliche LinkedIn post. And I was telling her about Substack and she like pinged me the other day. She's like, I'm on it. I've gotten a couple of clients that I have put on it. It's the ROI on it is great. As long as you know what to do with it, it's like long form, and I'm like, yeah, it's really cool. So now, like what you said, people that are in their 60s or whatever it might be, if it's coming to a point. But now there's also like a lot of spam, right? So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, it's like
Yeah,
everything,
which
like
is which
platform evolve, but yeah. I think something else
yeah.
also that's been helping the growth, and it's not something good, but the consequence is good. But I think a lot of journalists in the US are feeling censored because of whatever is going on with the administration, and some people that are independent writers for big publication like the Washington Post
Oh
or like
yeah.
the Wall Street Journal or whatever.
Hmm.
I think they're feeling restricted there, and they can't say what they want, so they're looking for a place to express themselves uh, openly, publicly, without being censored. And I think the fact that some of those not like celebrity writers, but big influential journalist figures are moving to Substack is also, I think, bringing a different audience to the application because of that.
Yeah, I know a lot of former like Washington Post writers, a lot of New York Times writers have kind of shifted on there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's like last thing about Substack. It's like I know they were trying to go live. They're trying to push live for a while, and I was like, I don't think that's gonna go. I don't think it's gonna stick, and it's kind of faded away, right?
I've done my first Substack live 10 days ago.
Oh,
um,
okay.
yeah, I've done my first one. It was the first time doing a live interview, which was interesting. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but I don't think. I mean, they've all tried it, right? Instagram tried live, like TikTok live. I don't watch live. I don't. If I if I'm doing something and I get a notification on my phone saying, "Hey, Susie is live. Do you want to watch what she's doing?" I probably won't. Let's be honest. I'm just gonna. If I'm interested in what she's doing, I'll get the recording or whatever. But the likeliness for me to go live and watch someone live talking about it is very, very small. So yeah, I don't. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's very low. But what I can see with this is that you can like with Riverside, what I'm using now, the platform, you can go live on Riverside as well. So what I think once everything kind of settles down, I'm gonna kind of introduce like a weekly scheduled live that takes people to Riverside. So within the group settings, like within the group chat, I'm like, hey, this week's guest on Wednesday is so and so. The link will be here on Riverside if you want to join. It's a pretty good publication as well because people can also comment and ask questions in
Yeah,
Q&A. So the community that you've already created and talking to at the same time can be more in tune instead of just getting a random notification. They can be aware of like you have a scheduled live interview or whatever it is, and I think that's a better route. I don't know if Substack is quite integrated their RTMP on there as well, but you can do stuff on the back end to kind of schedule that out. But yeah, like if I get a notification for live, like I'm not it's you have to be committed to a specific amount of time, and it's
yeah,
it's it's hard because also like people have really, I don't know, as a tech person, I'm like, people have really bad audio. And, it's like for me and for yourself, for as someone that's recorded over 150 podcast episodes, I'm like, if you have terrible audio in the first 30 seconds, like I will just tune out.
yeah, yeah. Well, having the light and yeah, no, everything. Yeah, it's just. No, I agree with
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
How did
and
how
I
did
don't know.
that go
Yeah,
for you? How was your live?
it was fine. I mean, so I was invited in someone else's publication. So I was there as a guest, but No, I mean, I had a great time. It was fun to record an interview live. I've never done it before. Uh, it adds a
Ah,
little bit of pressure
I
in
gotta
a way, right? Because you can't cut it off. So it was fun. But as a consumer, it's not something that I would consume heavily. I just rather watch the recording when it's available.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. I don't think I've seen it, so I'll check it out on your page after. Jeremy, what is your business now? What are you guys working on now?
So since I've been wrapping up the school, um, that this process started in December, toward the end of the year, 2024. So we still had trainings going on, so we had to finish everything that was ongoing. But we wrapped up the last training literally a month ago now. So since then, I've been in a very deep personal process of like what's next, basically. Uh, because to talk uh, very openly and honestly about it, it's interesting, right? I have been on this path since 2021, 4 years. And like you invest time building a project, you spend months and years and a lot of time and energy and effort developing something. And when it doesn't work out the way you expect it, um, it's fine, but it's frustrating because the truth is that if I don't make money, I can't live the lifestyle that I'm living right now. And it's not about living an extravagant lifestyle, but we all have stuff to pay. I need a roof over my head and I need food in my plate. Um, so I'm not looking for millions. I'm just looking for a normal amount of money to live. And it's just frustrating to work on something for on many things. So I mean, I've tried many things, uh, and not to be able to find anything that lasts long enough for whatever reason. And some things are just I'm the only one I can blame. I'm not, but it is what it is. But it's frustrating to have to like go back to square one, take a blank page of paper on your notebook. And it's like, okay, what am I doing now? Um, so it took me a few weeks, to be honest, to just accept that I had to start again, um, because that wasn't like easy to accept, even if it was like my choice and everything. It's still not easy. Um, so I took a while to really think about what I wanted to do, so it would be sustainable on the long run. Um, I'm not talking just sustainable financially, but also like from like a desire and standpoint, like something that can I see myself doing that for the next 5 years or 10 years? Like the answer had to be yes. Um, and so once I had that figured out and got more clarity in my head, it was okay. So what am I? The whole like ikigai, like what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? How can you help other? Trying to find the sweet spot in the middle, and there are two things that came up, and those are two things that I'm building right now. So I'm still at the infancy of everything, but I'm putting it out there. On one side, I want to do some business consulting, but like specializing in operation. Uh, um, I've been doing operation and like customer success things for 6 years, 7 years. Uh, I am a very nerdy tech guy. I like innovation. I like all those things, um, and what I've identified is that there are a lot of people out there, and I realized that thanks to my wife, and I think you're gonna understand what I mean. There are a lot of people that are what I call creative. They're like very good and very talented at one thing, like your wife being a yoga teacher. But very often, those people they lack the business, organization, operational execution side of things. It's like, I want to do this, but I don't know how to get started. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how I can go from A to B. And that's what I'm good at. I'm not good at the ideation, but I'm good at execution. So I want to help people that have like a skill, like a very specific craft, talented at something, but they don't know how to do whatever it is they want to do, and just help them put the right system in place, pick the right application, pick the right tool, uh, pick the right processes, so they don't spend 8 hours doing something manually that could just be done in 30 minutes with the right set of tools, right? uh, those things that I find very easy to do, it's very hard for other people. I can see that. And so this is one part that I want to do. I want to help what I would call creative and other solo entrepreneur uh, streamline their operation and processes so they can really focus on what they're good at and get rid of all the boring stuff that they hate doing in a way. That's one side. And then the other side is more personal, is I would like to help people live a more fulfilling and intentional life. And basically, so some sort of coaching, like life coaching, something like that, call it. And the why behind that is because, I told you at the beginning, uh, the first 10 years of my career after school, right, my 20s basically were very traditional, uh, nothing out of the ordinary. And in 2017, just before turning 30, my wife and I lost our baby. And that was like a big turning point for us. And I'm going to speak for myself because suddenly I realized that life doesn't always go as planned, like you can be checking all the boxes and following the path. Things might go wrong. And that was the beginning of a huge change on a personal level for me. And since then I've been on a sort of like quest to live my best life, and and to live a life on my own term, not just to satisfy my parents or my family or this guy who I don't even like or whatever. I want to really live a life for myself that I won't regret, that the day I die, I want to be thinking like, you had a good life, Jeremy. Like, it was great. And I want to help other people basically doing that. Um, I want to help other people finding their meaningful life without having to go through something as tragic as I had to go through for me to realize that, basically. Um, so this is something that is very early. It's in its infancy, but this is why also I'm writing more and more on Substack, is because I want to show that a regular guy with no, predisposition and huge no, he's gone. I had to go through something tragic to realize that I should be living my best life, that I should be living a life that I want, not just to please other people. Uh, I realized that just hating Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, to just find some happiness on the weekend and doing a few weeks of vacation is not sustainable long term. It's not a good work life balance. um, so I want to help people basically come to this realization without having to go through something as tragic as I did. And and then I want to help them just realize that they can do whatever they want. It doesn't have to be like traveling the world and becoming an entrepreneur. Like I don't want everyone to live the life that I do. I don't think it's for everyone. But I think plenty of people are giving up too easily on the dream just for the wrong reason and without even trying. And I want to help people just at least try, so at least they won't have the regrets. Um, I was I was writing about that in a blog post recently, and I came across this book that I don't remember the author now, but it's a book from a woman who worked in a hospice for most of her life, and she wrote a book about the main regrets that people had before dying. So she basically compiled all the conversation that she had at the hospice, and the number one regret that people had on the deathbed was something along the line of, I wish I'd live a life true to myself. And I was like, if I could help a few people not having this regret, that would make me very happy. Um, so yeah, this is the thing that I want to pursue.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. It's when I talk a lot about this as well. It's like our parents, back in whatever time they were in, like 50s, 60s, 70s, they didn't have all the options that we do now, right? Like they didn't have everything that's available to us and accessibility for them. Like when my parents moved here from Asia, for them it's just about surviving. It's sending their kids to school at obviously at that age and that around of time. Like kids, like people were having kids at a very young age, like 25 to 30, whatever it might be, and you didn't know what's in store for you, right? I think as a parent and at that age and especially that era, you're just it was all about just having a job and sending your kids to school, and making sure that they survive, making sure that they have food and a house over their head. And nowadays, I think in today's generation, we have so much availability and flexibility to whatever it is we want to do. And I really yeah, it's really hard for me to see people that aren't kind of like living their true purpose and not even in a purpose, but living a life that's true to themselves in that way, right? Like when you think about it on your deathbed, it's like, man, like all of this life that you potentially missed out on because you were either scared or you were looking for two things that are safe in your area, and you're afraid to step outside of that bubble. And it's like, I don't know. I think life is, I, our parents didn't work as hard for us to be this safe, I feel like. So I think it's a really good mission that you have.
A
And
hundred percent.
it's a mission now, like, as this era, more people are having kids later. That means what, in your late 20s, early 30s, and I feel like that stage of your life between your 20s and your 30s, like, man, go out there, and explore, learn different things, so you don't have to be in that 9 to 5 where you see your kids only on the weekend, or you don't really get a chance to spend time with the family. Because I think like anything else, that's a part of regret as well, right? Not being able to spend time with your family. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it can be anything, but yeah, I think just you know, I think we all have examples like that. My dad worked his entire life. He started working when he was 16, 17, and for as far as I can remember, he was like, I can't wait to be retired. Like even when he was like 40 years old, that was like the goal, the mission, get to retirement. And he retired in 2019, and 2 years later, um, I won't go into details, but something happened that basically screwed up the way his retirement should have gone, and it's not what he expected anymore. He doesn't have what he thought he would be having. Um, Same for my wife's dad. He always dreamed of going to India. He worked very hard during his entire life. He made good money. They traveled a lot, but he's never been to India. He wanted to go. And just when he was about to retire, he had a health issue, and now he's not well enough to travel anymore. So he probably won't go to India. And it's like there's so many examples like that are like people are postponing uh, joy and happiness and what they want to later, to when the time is right, or when I have more money, or when I'm retired, or this or that. It's like this is not guaranteed. Like you might not get there, or you might not be as healthy as you would like to be able to do that, or whatever it is. So just do it now. Like you can probably do it. The truth is that the reason you're not doing it is excuses, but you can most likely do it. Very often, we are just very good at coming up with BS excuses, not true things, because we're
Yeah.
scared, or we don't want to make someone unhappy or whatever it is. Um, and yeah, it's just a shame, right? Because it is what it is. But
I a
yeah,
big
if we
part of
could
that
if we could stop that, it'd be great.
a big part of that too, I feel like, is attachment. right? Because as the older generation, my parents, they have so many things they're attached to, whether it's whatever piece of paper that they have 30 years ago and they just don't want to get rid of it. And it's an entire house of memories and trauma and whatever it is. And it's one thing is, yes, there are excuses that it's comfortability, but it's also past trauma that they have not dealt with, right? So it's leaving the trauma or leaving something that feels comfortable, but also like for you um to be able to kind of come to grasp with like whatever it is that you have to let go of, right? Like I think you and I were very good, and or like just nomads in general, we're so good at like just living out of a suitcase and condensing and not living in an attached life, right? Like you and I can probably go somewhere, live out of a backpack or a small suitcase, whatever it might be. But the older generation, I feel like there's so much memories and so much trauma, and like I, especially in my parents' case, like I've been on them for I think the last like 7, 8 years, and they've been traveling quite a bit. They've actually gotten a lot better. They've gone on cruises, and they've actually traveled the world. So for me, like, seeing that, I'm like, I get so happy, because it's like, you guys don't need
Yeah,
to wait for retirement. You have enough money as it is. Like your kids are out the house, they're married. Like, there's really nothing that holds you back. So like the older generation, it's like, yeah, you will get to retirement one day, but like you said, will you still be able to enjoy it, right? Eh, and to their point is, I'm not trying to shame them on that because, like I said, their their whole responsibility was just to take care of the kids, and to take care of whatever responsibilities that they have. And now it's like, well, now that's gone. They don't really know what to do. So there's definitely a need for people like that, and especially for the retirees that are in the states. They're moving out. They're like everyone's going to Portugal. Like obviously, it's a it's a big thing. And it's great. I'm like, people are like, why is everyone moving to Portugal? Like, it's great. Experience something new. It's your time. And I think your service and what you're trying to do with that side of your business is definitely needed.
thank you. No, yeah, thank you. And yeah, I think it's also, you I totally agree with you about our parents' generation. Um, our parents are probably a very similar age, I assume. And yeah, like what you're describing, I can see, yeah, being attached to the house, like all the old plates, right, that are coming from like a wedding gift 30 years ago that you've never used them, but you can't get rid of them. Like, yeah, stuff like that, right? Um,
Yep.
yeah, 100%. But I think there also, what makes me sad is that also there are plenty of people that are our age that they don't have the same constraints that our parents had, but they're still
Uh,
not taking advantage of the life that we have right now. You know, to go back to what we said, internet is great. Like, it's never been easier to live abroad, to work remotely, to find a cheap vacation somewhere. Like, I'm in a house right now in Germany. I'm not paying rent. I'm looking after a dog. I'm doing house sitting. The owner went away. They needed someone to look after the dog. I'm here for 10 days in Germany for free. Like, you can get creative. You can live a great life without being rich. And again, it's not just about traveling, but it's just an example. Like, you can achieve things without having a massive IQ, without having a very deep bank account, without having being an athlete. There are ways to achieve things that you want more easily than you think, because we are very blessed and privileged to live at a time in world where it's never been easier to get things, or it's much easier than it was for our parents 4 years ago when they were our age. So more people need to take advantage of that because they will probably regret it otherwise when they're old, and that would be a shame.
it's for me, like I look at the last 5 years and what we're talking about right now, it's like everything is everything is uncertain, right? And whether it's life or your health or as COVID has seen, like COVID, I think did an amazing job, like for whatever, whatever people want to believe in. It's like it got people out of their comfortability because it it showed people that like, shoot, I'm easily replaceable by a corporation. I'm easily whatever it is, like that their thoughts are bound to, and it's like so many people lost their job, people laid off, and people figured out how to adapt to it, right? Like people moved out of the country. Like I myself and my wife, we moved to Mexico. We lived down there for a year because all of my clients just proved, for people, it's being able to adapt. And I was really hoping that really shift a lot of the mindset within people. But somehow we've come across of like we've kind of dipped down into like back into safety again and into this comfortability zone. And it's interesting to see, because that really I think that sparked a whole different generation of how people are doing things. And those people are probably still doing it, like yourself and like myself. And I'm curious to see what that next spark is like. But also here in the States, there's tremendous layoffs, right? Because of tech and federal government and whatever it might be. And it might lead to that revolution again where people realize like, oh shoot, like maybe my job or my career or my whatever is not as safe as I thought it once was, and now I kind of got to figure it out. Um, so the patterns are kind of repeating from 2020. It's quite interesting, but yeah, yeah,
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think also like what people realized it's that um, we can lose a lot of our freedom in an instant, and we can also lose things that we take for granted in an instant. Like the walk in the park, you don't go out to the park because you can only do it. But once it's taken away from you, you wish you could go. It's like a funny human thing that we have, right? Uh, and suddenly, when all those things were taken away from people, they're like, "Damn, I really want to go to the park." um, so I think people realize that they should, yeah, go out more because suddenly they're locked inside, and even if they could have gone, they didn't go. But now they can't go. They want to go. It's like a whole. Um, but also, as you said, I think we are, and I think it's just the way our brain are. Like it's nothing personal, but we get comfortable very easily. We forget very easily, and we go back into our old habits very easily. It's something that I joke about, but it's not like funny. But when you travel to less privileged countries and you don't have, um, you can't drink water in the house, or you don't have hot shower, or like little things like that, that make you a little bit uncomfortable. And suddenly you're very, when you go back home, you're like, oh my God, I have water, I have this. Like you appreciate it a lot. And I think is, but then after 2 weeks, you forget about it. It's just normal again. I think we should have like a little reminder, like a little shot once per year of like getting outside of our comfort zone and be reminded of all the privilege that we take for granted every day. Uh, I remember going to Cuba in 2019. Like, there's no internet anywhere. Like, if you want internet, you need to stand at a specific place in a specific like square, and you have 10 minutes of internet, and it's shit. It's slow as hell anyway. You can't do anything, but like that's all you could do. Um, Last year in Mexico, we were in Mexico for 4 months. Last year in 2024, during like a massive heat wave, we didn't have any water because it was dry. We literally had no water for like 48 hours. No shower, no toilet. Like, think about it. Not great. But things like that put things in perspective and makes you realize first what's important in life, and second that we spend way too much time complaining about little things that don't matter because we have a good life, like us, and a lot of people are lacking things that are actually much more important than the fact that we don't have the latest iPhone or some bullshit like that we like to complain about. So I think it's good to have a annual dose of like a little reminder that we have a good life, we are privileged, and all those things that we take for granted is a real blessing. And um, so I think also like experiencing life is great for that because it's just a good reminder of where we are.
Yeah, that's what traveling is all about, right? Gaining perspectives.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, gaining perspective, gaining appreciation of everything you have at home. Where were you in Mexico when this happened?
That happened in Puebla,
Oh,
so
okay.
like close to Mexico City. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
we've
we
been
had
there.
48 hours of just no water at all, nothing,
It was a heat
which
wave?
was not ideal. Yeah, I mean, it was brutal. It was in March, April last year, so like 1 year ago. Um, and there was just no water. In Oaxaca, we had no water for a few days. In Puebla, we
Oh,
had no
man.
water for a few days. And in Mexico City as well, actually.
Wow.
We had in Mexico City, we had an apartment in just above La Condesa. I don't
Yeah.
remember, like the expat neighborhood,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Norte, Roma Norte, right? Um, we had water from like 6 to 8 a.m. in the morning, and then from 12 to 2 p.m., and then past 8 p.m. at night, something like that. So we like just for the essential when we're at home. But yeah, morning and afternoon when people go to the office, but I don't. We had no water for a few weeks. So
So
yeah,
what was happening? It was just they were just what was happening with the water?
just a shortage of water.
Wow.
Just a shortage of water in the country. Yeah.
Wow. And
So
that was affecting all the way down from Mexico City to Puebla to Oaxaca, like all that whole region?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, because it was fine in Yucatan, and then when we reached like the west of the country, it was fine again. But yeah, this central section
Yeah.
of like yeah, I don't remember the state now, the province, but yeah, that was an experience, a good
Uh,
reminder again.
did you
Yeah.
spend a lot of time in Mexico?
We spent 5 months last year.
In Mexico City, there's one of my favorite cities, to the west of it is called Querétaro. Have you ever been there?
No,
Uh,
no, I haven't been there.
Querétaro is a Pueblo Magico, but it's also an engineering city. And it's lovely.
Okay.
It's the cleanest city in Mexico, but it still has like the brick roads and then the colorful houses and a lot of car makers are there, so a lot of like engineers are there. It's very clean, very
Mm.
pretty, and it's very safe. There's a lot of really good accessible routes, and it's a biking town as well. Next time when you're out,
Oh,
you can take the super bus from Mexico City, and I think it's like an hour away. It's a great place. It's like one of my
okay.
favorite places. We spent a month there, and it's very charming, and its food's great, and same. But it's a very very cute town.
I okay. Yeah, I'll write it down. I love Mexico, and this is another thing that I want to tell people about traveling is that so many people are scared to see the world because they read the news, because they watch the news, and they hear about this happening there and whatever. And before going to Mexico, we were very nervous because we watched too much TV, and because of people telling us stuff. We went to Mexico with a plan B that if it's not safe enough, we'll leave after like a week or so. And we had the best time. We spent 5 months there. It was wonderful. We met wonderful people, some of the most polite and kind people that I've met. Um, and there are things happening, but like everywhere in the world, right? It's, there's no perfect country, but we didn't feel unsafe once in 5 months. And we went through the East Coast to West Coast. Like we traveled through the entire country, and not once we were like, "Oh shit, we need to go." It was great. So yeah,
So you went
Travel, see the
from
world is great.
Yucatan. Where did you end on the West Coast?
Uh, Puerto Vallarta.
Ah, okay, okay. Cool. We did a
Yeah.
similar route. We went from west to east.
Okay.
How
Yeah,
did
we
you
did. I think 17. I think we did 17 cities in 5 months. Yeah.
what was the cities? I probably would recognize a lot of these.
So we started in Cancun, Tulum,
Mhm,
Valladolid,
mhm.
Merida, Campeche,
Okay.
uh, Palenque, which is before Campeche, Puebla, Oaxaca, San Miguel de
Mhm.
Allende, um, San Cristobal,
Yes.
uh, another one that I don't remember, in a valley with houses of plenty of colors. I forgot the name now. We went to Puerto Vallarta, a small town next to Sayulita,
Mhm.
um, and another one that I forgot the name on the West Coast. But yeah, we did a good amount of things. It was great. I love Mexico. Awesome country. Amazing country.
Yeah, it's the drive is great. Oh, like we bought so we went during COVID. We went July 2020. My wife back long story. My wife and I met in Bali in 2019, December, and she is from Italy, and I was at that time in Vegas. We hung out in the Airbnb for 2 days, and then I went back to see my grandmother in Jakarta. But we've stayed in touch, kept talking, and decided that we wanted to re-meet and be together in Mexico. So we went down in July 2020, booked an Airbnb for 1 month in Mazatlan, um, and
Mm.
we bought the car of the owner's like family. It was like a Chevy Spark, like a super local. You've seen it all around, right? It's super local, had plates from Durango. So we never had an issue driving it because it was a local car. It wasn't a rental car. But we also did the route. So we went to Mazatlan, Sayulita, San Blas, Puerto Vallarta, Nueva Vallarta. Then we did Guadalajara, Querétaro, Mexico City, Puebla, Oaxaca, San Cristobal, Palenque, Campeche, Bacalar, uh, and all the way up to Yucatan. So
Yeah.
very similar route.
Yeah. Very similar route. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
never
Yeah.
had
If
any issues.
yeah, it was the polar opposite of what I thought it would be. And I would, if tomorrow you have to tell me that I need to move to Mexico, I'll be happy to go. It's fine. I can still move there. It's a great country. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think right now Mexico City is like the cost of living in Mexico City has increased significantly, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because of people like us, let's be honest. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So where can people find you? And what kind of clients, like how do potential clients and what kind of clients are you looking for on both sides, whether it's the business consulting or on the life side? Like what kind of clients are you looking for?
So the best place to find me is just my website, jeremieandre.com. So that's JEREMIEANDRE.com. I have a link for my Substack, my consulting, coaching. So everything is in there. It's all centralized in one place. Um, on the consulting side, I would say my ideal client, right, is like I said, like if you're a creative, or a solopreneur, you're very good at your craft, but as soon as you hear about being organized, you you have goosebumps and you freak out and you close your laptop and you run away from it. Like I'm your guy, basically. I will help you streamline everything that you do so you can stop losing your hair and you can really focus on what you love doing, which is your craft. And on the coaching side, it's, I would say, if you feel within you that you should be doing something else in your life, but you don't dare, you feel an internal frustration because you're not living the life that you should be doing because of a person or because of a situation, and you wish you had more, but you feel like you can't, you feel stuck because of money, because of the country you live in, because of your parents that want you to be a doctor, but you don't want to be a doctor, and whatever it is, right? Um, I want to help you get clarity about what matters for you and identify what would be this dream life, whatever it is, because it's different for all of us, and how you can build a plan to actually make it happen. Because the truth is that most likely than not, it is possible to get this life that you want. Um, because like I said, I've done it. My parents, I think, went to 2 countries, three. Like my family live in a 40-kilometer radius. I'm not coming from a traveling family, from an entrepreneur family. No one speaks English in my family, and I am the exception of everyone. And like, if I made it, and again, like my definition of making it is just living a life that I chose and I'm designing on my own term. That's my definition of like making it. If I made it, like anyone can make it. Like I'm not special, I would say. Um, it's just I had a wake up call, and I used this wake up call to implement change in my life, so I won't regret it later, and I can help other people and guide them through that. So yeah, that would be everything is on my website, so that's the best way to contact me, email me, and find my little few social media platform that I use.
Yeah, I think like what you said, living a life that you choose is it's a high priority, right? We don't I think
Yeah,
as
and actually because you choose it, not because you feel like you're choosing, but actually it's just society telling you what to choose,
yes.
which is very subtle.
Yeah, it's very important. And and it's so funny. I think when I talk to my parents about stuff like this, or the older generation, when you talk about stuff like this to your family, they would kind of consider us lazy in that way, right? It's like, why don't you get a real job, or why don't you do whatever? And it's like this, like doing this is not easy, you know. It's
Nope.
it's not easy. Like sometimes I even think about like, should I just get a job? And I'm like, no, but that's also not easy. So out of the two things that aren't easy, wouldn't you just rather choose the thing that fulfills you, not even your needs and your wants, but fulfill yourself like as a person, you know, instead of choosing something as society does, or and I think we're both lucky, like our responsibilities are minimal to a point, right? And we can choose to live this life until we feel tired or whatever we feel of it. Um, but yeah, get out there. Yeah,
Exactly. Get out there.
yeah,
Dare to do it.
dare to do it. Jeremy, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I'm excited to see where you go in your journey. Hopefully we'll be in Thailand for 4 months. Hopefully we can meet in around the area.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. That was a fun conversation. And yeah, happy to do it again whenever you want.